initially in your statement, you said that other states that have had these laws for 15, 16 years, quote, haven't had very many problems. I find that to be untrue, aside from the fact that he just pointed out 50% of those warrants were overturned. We are seeing the multiple rampant abuse of ERPO laws being used in family court, because let's say my wife and I get a divorce, all she has to do is fill a form out. And I lose my guns, and now I look disfavorably in front of the court. Now, you said earlier, you also stated that we've done this before, circumvented due process when it suits us for public safety. I understand
Not
that.
public safety, just we have in other issues.
Okay, but a mental health inquest warrant, how does one obtain that? Who signs off on it? Who brings that complaint?
The judge ultimately signs off on it,
Who brings the complaint?
the family member.
Okay, who has to validate that complaint if a judge is doing properly? How does he validate that
They
complaint?
have to go through a psychologist.
A psychiatrist, an MD, not a psychologist.
Yeah.
And that psychiatrist is bound by ethics canons and his degree to look at the DSM-5 now, is what
Yeah.
it is. There is no such language requiring that. And as a matter of fact, one of the new states that I guess I would say, quote, sarcastically, hadn't had a problem, was in the state of Colorado 3 days ago. A woman who was shot by an officer just like that with a body cam on, that before we said, we'll put that on him to make sure that we keep, again, people safe, right? He was shot by an officer after being high on drugs, charging that officer with a very long hunting knife. The body camera captured the footage. 36 times they told the young man to put the knife down. They didn't, they shot him. His mom filed an ERPO, is what the state of Colorado calls it, against the officer, saying that they had a child together. Before due process could be done, because we circumvented it to keep things safe. That officer, a man of the court who stands behind that shield and swears an oath, lost his guns, and I think in this room you'll agree, lost his face, had to recover it by spending his own money, was not allowed to recoup any costs in civil court. So I really want you to think about that language, because Mark Twain said there are lies, damn lies, and then there are statistics. We're in a county that just swore to be a Second Amendment upholder. There was a woman that killed 44 people at Oklahoma State University less than 6 years ago with a car. We can get into that argument all night. My point being is that when we say we're going to look at red flag laws, we got to look really deep, because a mental inquest warrant is much different than an ERPO. And I have a young daughter in school too, and I saw on a post that you did reply to, and I as well, being Facebook, and I'm not on it, but you said a colleague of yours, his granddaughter, was more afraid of being shot at school, and that shouldn't happen.
That's what
I
said,
agree.
said law.
I agree. I'm an 80s kid. I was more worried about having nuclear annihilation. That shouldn't happen either. But that, again, if you look at the root cause of the issue, wasn't the gun. Why is there more security in your Senate than at my daughter's high school?
We just passed a bill today, going to the governor's desk.
I appreciate that, but you see the point we're making. You can't penalize 99% of honest citizens. And I think Thomas Sewell, and I'll end it with this, said it best. The rifle above the fireplace. Make sure that you're a citizen and not a serf. Thank you.
Well, and that's right, and everything you said about the so-called red flags you got everywhere are right. And that's what, if you've been sitting with those meetings, you realize that. And I'm not surprised to say what all we've talked about and everything, but a lot of it has been that I don't think the neighbor ought to be able to request anything. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's about going in and taking their guns. I think that if you did do something like that, then they need to have some type of, like you do with a mental inquest warrant, need to have a psychologist that evaluates them. They make the determination. That's the way it needs to be done. I think things need to be explained off. I think that's why I don't like anything that's out there, because where it's Indiana, it's where they've not had any problems. You can go up and talk to the prosecutors, talk to the attorney general, you talk to any of them up there, and they tell you that they have less than 8 a year. But now theirs is much tighter than a Colorado or what Virginia proposed, a lot of those others. You know, it depends on how you structure any of it as to what can be done. And like I said in the beginning, it's not about guns, it's about weapons, it's about the mental state of people at a time and how society has changed. And what you said is what I've been trying to do, to tell these others that proposed a true red flag law that anybody could request against anybody else, to get them off of that, to show them why, to talk to them directly in a meeting and say, this is not right, you can't do this. And so I've explained those things all summer long. Now, am I with them in these meetings and everything? And we still meet We still talk about it because they know that they can't get anything passed right now. But they know that they can keep chipping away at it, year over year over year. The census helps, a lot of these things help. So, I mean, you're telling me the things that I'm trying to do. And that's why I'm with these folks, and that's why I'm continue to meet with them. Because I don't want us getting to the point of the Colorados or Virginias or someplace like that, where they do have all the ex parte orders that completely circumvent all of the Constitution and your personal rights and freedoms and everything. And that's why I'm talking to them. You know, and I stand up there with them. We're at a news conference because I want them to, you know, I want people to know that there's somebody else joining the conversation that I tend to think is going to bring some reasonable conversation to it, rather than just being extreme one way and reacting because something went off. You know, because there was an event that happened. So that's what I'm trying to do.
What was your response to Marshall County when they said we need more gun laws?
I was down there visiting with the senators down there. You know, I was in the schools, went to visit the schools and stuff, and I didn't respond to them. I said, you know, we're gonna work, we got the Senate Bill 1 from last year, which was trying to bring back our schools safe. Then just today, the House passed a bill where we're putting armed officers, SROs, in the schools. I didn't talk, it was his district, so I didn't try to comment a lot and get into policy and stuff, because I usually don't try to do that. Somebody have a question back here.
Right.
Well, so far, we've been talking about bills that don't exist.
There's no bills out there.
Let's talk about a bill that does exist. What's your opinion of Gerald Neal's House Bill 32, the storage bill?
Yeah, that's not Gerald's bill, that's, it's over in the House. Gerald's in the Senate. It's,
We're talking about Senate Bill 32.
Senate SB 32. SB.
it's not going anywhere, doesn't have any postbox.
What's
It's not
your
going,
opinion of it?
yeah, it's not going, I'm not in favor of it, it's not going anywhere, it's not gonna happen. And it's just like there's a couple of House Bill 2s that talk about
Oh, yeah.
limiting, some of the magazines
But
and
you
some
don't
of
have
those
no
things.
control of
None of
those.
that, no, I don't have any control over it now, but it's not, they're not gonna get out of the House. I don't agree with any of those ones. I still say that's not the problem. That's not the problem.
That wasn't my question either.
Yeah.
And my other question is, yeah, those bills, and we all know they're not gonna go anywhere. And we also know that they're very extreme bills and introduced by extremists. My question is, where are the Republican extremists and where are the extreme pro-gun bills or any pro-gun bill? Where are they? Who will introduce one?
Well, that's-
Who will bring one up?
That's why I think the Second Amendment to the Constitution takes care of that.
It's not doing a very good job so far.
Well, but it's,
We do have, infringements, we do have,
I think what he's trying to say is where's the accountability for these people that are presenting these bills, or the
That's
bills
not
that
what
are
I'm
already
saying at
made
all.
into law.
that's not what I said at all. I wanna know where the legislators are who would introduce a pro-gun bill. Where are they? And where are the bills that they might present?
what, nobody's come to me on a pro-gun bill, and I don't know what the pro-gun bill would, I don't know what it would look like in the first place.
Well,
To
I'll
go
come
above,
see you next week and
Yeah.
I'll show you one.
to go above what the Constitution does.
What would be a good day next week for me to come talk?
Anytime you want to. But you'll have me, yeah.
That constitutional carry last year.
I talked to you earlier
Uh-huh.
and had some of my questions answered, and you talked about going around and asking these people that, you know, that to me are hurting because they had loved ones shot or was shot, okay? I would suggest if you want some other side of the story, you go to a trip down into Texas to a small church, and you ask their congregation how they feel about the red flag law down there. Now, a lot of people here don't realize it, but back in, when I was 12 years old, I took a 12-gauge shotgun blast to my right shoulder. I went to 3 hospitals before I could survive, but I'm still here today. And I believe in guns. Even though I got this second right arm, I believe in guns. And I don't want them infringed on at all.
He had one big person. So, go ahead. You get,
There's a lot of technology out there that can help the situation. Shelby County High School, he's totally blind. He doesn't know what the shooter looks like, what kind of gun he's got, where he's at, where he's moving to. There are shot detection devices out there that are placed in Florida schools right now, or California schools, that within less than 2 seconds on his cell phone, he will have the location of the shooter, what direction he's moving, how many shots he's fired. It can also tie into the cameras, and he can get a video or a picture of the shooter. You can also look on the intercom system in the school, active shooter in northwest wing, exit immediately the south wing. Students in northeast wing, locked down. So you can save people with technology. It's we need to put that technology in our schools. An armed officer in a school is good. An armed teacher is better. You know, people say call 911. Then you don't need a fire extinguisher. Because that's the same thing. If I've got a gun, I can defend myself immediately, or my child, my wife, my classroom. And the point of calling an officer is great, but it doesn't help you when you got a gun pointed at you. I have an FFL, so I sell firearms. I do not sell ARs. I do not sell pistols. I sell shotguns because I'm a target shooter. The ATF form, 1044, that you all have filled out if you bought a gun, is the most ridiculous form that was ever invented by the government, I think. 4473? Yeah, 4473.
Yeah.
When you fill that out, you're checking the boxes. If you're mentally ill, are you going to say you're mentally ill on that form? I don't think so. So all that is just paperwork created by, I hate to say this, no present politicians that have never sat in front of a person buying a gun. We should take the Israelis' approach and do profiling of that individual when he's buying a gun. I, as an FFL holder, do not have to sell anyone in this room a gun. If I got them for sale and you come in and say, I want to buy that AR, and I look at you and I don't feel comfortable, sorry about your luck, you're going to have to buy it someplace else and I'm not going to sell it to you. That's where I'm the first stop for trying to identify mental illness. You can have a woman come in, and I can tell immediately she's not buying that pistol for herself, or that shotgun for herself. She's buying it for her husband, who can't buy a gun because he's a felon. Am I going to sell that woman a gun? She meets all the qualifications. No, I'm not. Okay. So the answer is common sense. Bottom line. You get a gut feel about a person, you know if the guy is mentally stable or not. But there's technologies, there's ways that we can help the situation without infringing upon our rights. Because my daughter-in-law is a school teacher, and when the shooting started, she was wanting me at SHOT Show to buy her a protection vest that she could wear to school because they would not allow her to carry a gun in school even though she had a concealed carry. And she was afraid to go to school. She literally was, and she was afraid for her students. Because the only thing she could do was lock down. So with that being said, I think we need to look at the laws of the state of Kentucky and say, number one place to protect would be our schools. They're a soft target. Number two, large churches. Anywhere it says no guns allowed, you better have some technology and some defense there, because if you're mentally unstable, what better place to go is where the sign says no guns allowed. You know, and I feel for our law enforcement, because when they get that call, they have no idea who they're dealing with. And I thank God for them every